Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to another chat with Matt. So this is a new first for me today because we have someone on, not for the first time, not for the second time, but the third time. So this guy must be special. And I welcome back Bill Taylor of one of our own from Mentor Group. Hey, Bill.
Hi, Matt. It's really fun to be to do the trifecta. I'm very flattered to come on the third time because it's always a lot of fun to interact with you and hopefully share some insights that we're learning out in the marketplace to the delight of the folks that have tuned in to watch this. So I'm excited to talk about our subject today.
Well, this is what we set out to do, as you know, having been, I'm going to call you a regular now, if you don't mind, on these podcasts. But that's what we set out to do. We set out to give some insights, give some thinking, so that if you're listening or watching, you can take an idea away, do something different, help enrich your life. If we can achieve that in these very simple recorded podcasts, I think knowing you'd be delighted, Bill, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. I think, people sometimes have asked me over the years, and being a consultant for 30 years, whether it's in B2B sales transformation or in my other part of my practice around executive coaching and team development and organizational development, what do you do, Bill? And I say, I'm in the insight business. I offer people insights that might impact their thinking to do things a little bit differently, which ultimately informs their new behavior, and they usually get different results they're looking for. So today, I hope we offer a few new insights that will inform your thinking, particularly about the area of private equity and what they do with B2B sales organizations in their portfolio.
Well, we're going to tap into that because you talk about 3 years consulting experience. You're one of the rare people that I know who's an all-rounder. So you can coach, you can facilitate, you can design, you can sell, and you're leading the charge for us in the US with the private equity space, but also new logos as well. How do you fit it all in?
Well, that's a fun question. A friend of mine called me a hybrid. I started out, frankly, in my original career, I was a C-suite banker. I ran the corporate and private banking department here in San Diego, California, of a pretty large community bank. So I'm a finance guy by trade, but it was also the rainmaker in the bank. And when I changed careers about 30 years ago, when we went through a big recession here in the United States around the S&L crisis, I transferred the selling skills and the finance background into helping people really connect their people strategy and their business strategy. That's how this all started. I started carrying a bag with a quote on my back, started over again, started managing sales teams. But along the way, my clients kept asking me to facilitate the solutions because of my business background versus a pure training background. So over time, Matt, what really got comfortable for me is to walk over a bridge very easily. I'm a B2B sales professional, proud to be that sales leader. And then I walk over the bridge into the world of executive coaching, team development, and culture change. And so I love being able to walk interchangeably in those two worlds and bring value to everybody that I work with. It's been fun.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to hearing about your experience. So over a good part of this year, you've been working in the PE space, and of course, over a good part of this year, the business environment has changed fairly dramatically. So tell me some of your key lessons and insights from working in the PE space.
Yeah, having a strong finance background, PE wasn't foreign to me, or venture capital, but it's been a fascinating learning curve this last year to immerse ourselves. We've already, as you know, you were already working with some very high-profile private equity firms. And the learning curve started there a few years ago for Mentor Group. But what I've uncovered this year has been fascinating. One is the PE area is thriving. There is so much liquidity in the marketplace, Matt. They are raising billions, not millions, they are billions of dollars all around the world. It's global, it's not national here in the US. So people are shoving money their way saying, invest it for us, give us a bigger return. So they're having no problem having money to go out and acquire these middle stage companies or early stage companies. So that's fascinating, counterintuitive to the way the marketplace is going. What that leads to, the other interesting lesson is they are trying to make sure more than ever before that these new acquisitions, or they're taking a snapshot of their current portfolio, that they can indeed secure and make sure this is a good investment. So they're having to do COVID-based diagnostics, looking back and saying, is what we were doing still going to get us to where we want to go? And then, of course, they need to protect. So they need to kind of remap things and are the processes still relevant in a COVID environment? And then finally, of course, can they retain and grow the revenue, the top line? So those three big areas have been kind of what we've learned from the private equity firms. And so our response, or people like us in this space, suppliers of sales transformation work and coaching, is that they really embrace having somebody look at their technology. How's the data analytics? Looking at their people. Have we got the right people in the right seats? And then finally, are our processes relevant and current in the COVID environment?
So if I can summarize that back to you, there's money in the market to be invested.
Yep.
There's organizations in the market who are looking for investment for a number of reasons. Some areas are still looking for the next level of growth because they're doing very well in their vertical sector. But in other areas, they're not so. So when you're working with a PE organization, give me a sense, how do you help them make the right decision and then make sure that the organizations that they bring into their portfolio can continue to grow or can at least protect the investment as they go forward?
Yeah, the biggest thing that I think one of the biggest areas of need that they've identified, and we're still learning more and more with each conversation, is they want flexibility. They want a supplier, a partner to walk alongside them with not a one size fits all. They certainly want strong diagnostic abilities and capabilities, and we of course have that. We can give them a snapshot in time of where they are, a gap analysis, if you will. But they're also looking for not only one, they don't want one size fits all, because every portfolio company is a bit different. So they want flexibility, they want customization, and they want suppliers that are willing to flex to their needs rather than come in and offer a rip and replace. There's a lot of our competitors out there that just say, this is the way you're going to do it, this is how you do it, and that's the end of the discussion. There's no flexibility. And we're finding that we're winning business because of our willingness to say, what is it you need right now? What is it you need in Q2 or 3? And what is it that you need in Q4 going into Q6? What do you need for acquisition? What do you need for retention and growth? And we're finding that they really appreciate flexibility and the willingness to listen closely as good consultants to really understand what's their explicit need today. They don't want the whole menu. They want to pick from the menu what they have an appetite for right now. So that has really been interesting to hear them say that over and over again. How flexible? First question I get, Matt, is how flexible are you guys? Well, we're very flexible. Tell me what you mean by flexible. And that's why we walk in these three doors when we do our work, as you know, around the world. We say, let's take a look at the data analytics and technology. Let's assess the people, and let's take a look at process. Where's the biggest gap now? Where's the most pain, and how can we help you close that gap? And then we'll move on as needed.
So it sounds to me, and I know that you've got a background in American football. Sorry, depending upon which side of the pond you're from.
It's real football over here.
Real football, right? We'll agree to disagree on that point, but I'm not.
That's right.
Surprised you haven't turned up with the paint on. By the way, I don't know the answer to this, so genuinely, why is the paint under the eyes in football?
It's called, well, you do it in baseball too. It's called eye black, and it's like polish. It looks like polish when you put it on. They actually have little adhesive tapes. It helps the glare. The sun comes in, and it helps deflect the glare, lets you see more clearly. If you're playing at night, it does the same thing, but gotcha. primarily in the sun, it's to minimize glare in your eyes, and it looks pretty cool too.
It does look cool. Going back to my point, so in relation to football, what I heard you describing was it's almost having a playbook yes. But a playbook that's agile enough to say, if this is your game plan, then this would be your route. However, not everybody's got the same game plan. So here's yes. play number 2, play number 3. The agility to be able to adapt what you do, your conversations, your insights and recommendations based on the needs of the PE firm that you're talking to.
That's a great summary, Matt. In football jargon, you certainly have a playbook. And then also the players need to be they need to call audibles. They need to change. I played quarterback briefly in the NFL, but you watch the quarterback walk up to the line of scrimmage, Matt, and you'll see them look around and then they start shouting at everybody or making funny gestures. They're changing the play at the line of scrimmage because they've seen the defense will nullify the play they've called. So as a quarterback, that's one of the big things I would do. And I think as a consultant, what we're finding, and I have found, is my willingness to call audibles and not just take the playbook and hand it to them. So we develop their playbook for their sales team, and this given time, whether it's an acquisition, they're trying to stabilize and put new rigor into the organization that wasn't there, or they're in mid-COVID environment where they're saying, wow, our playbook doesn't work anymore. We need a new playbook. We need to take a few chapters out, put a few new chapters in. So I think the football analogy holds up pretty well. And especially with about flexibility that they have said is so valuable to them. They want to move fast and they want to move quickly, and they of course want to protect their capital investment. So one of the things we've been doing, another lesson learned, is what we call sales transformation as a service. So really creating, instead of a CapEx model, send us X hundreds of thousands of dollars for a project, we're also learning they enjoy the flexibility of an OpEx model to where they can spread the cost a little bit over time, but they've got access to us all the time for coaching or advice or advisory services. And that's been kind of a fun new way to support the private equity world.
So tell me, Bill, then, what's your playbook over the next 3 to 6 months in relation to what you think will happen in the market? What are going to be some of the key things that you focus on with your prospective and your new PE clients as you work over the next few months?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, which is a fundamental, is for me as a seller, because I'm out every day looking for a new logo or new private equity relationships, is to model expert discovery work, expert consulting that we sell to others. To really model. In a call the other day, I sent a summary back of the call with the private equity. I was talking to the operating partner who handles all operations, and he commented, he said, Bill, I wished all my salespeople gave summaries about our clients like I just read from you. I appreciate receiving what are the next steps, what's the outcomes I'm looking for, what are we going to do? And he said, I really appreciate that. Some people don't do that. So I'm going to model more than ever the fundamentals of what we offer as a supplier of sales transformation services. Number two, Matt, I think, is the willingness to carefully be a bit provocative, to be a bit disruptive, as we like to call it at Mentor Group, as to push in a little bit to stimulate their thinking. Have you thought about this? Or what's the implication? In that same call, the gentleman said, we need to grow revenue 25% next year. And I said, great. So how much of that is EBITDA that has to go back to the parent company? And he goes, why? And I said, because that's what's at risk next year, right? Is 25% growth. It's about $5 million and you're looking for 30% EBITDA. So do the math. I said, it sounds like that's the poker game that you're playing. That's what's in the pot. And so one of the provocative ways I like to talk about that is, what's at risk if you do this well? What's at risk if you don't make this play or play this hand as well as you hope to? And so let's identify that risk, let's monetize it, and then let's wrap our services and support around that to protect that particular monetized goal. That's what I'm going to be doing more than ever before.
So it sounds to me, if I can simplify that in one line, that you want to role model the way in which you approach the PE clients in a way that all salespeople, all sales professionals should be working with their customers and their prospective customers.
Yes, that's a good summary.
So
I think we need. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So give me as we come in towards the end of our chat today.
Yeah.
And I think I asked you this at the beginning of at the end of the first one, actually. Give me that nugget, the Bill Taylor golden nugget that says, if you're listening and you're watching this podcast, give me your top tip to be able to thrive in the current sales the sales environment?
That's a fun question, because often people say, Bill, what's your favorite sales question to get things started? And frankly, my favorite over time is, please share what's going well right now with your organization, the sales organization. Tell me about the successes. What have you been celebrating? Now, because that starts out positive and people love to tell their story in a positive way. What it's done for me is it builds a bridge immediately to, well, given those celebrations, way to go. What are some things you wished were going a little bit differently? Which is really a question about what their challenges are. I never ask what keeps you up at night. I hate that question. But to ask them what's going well is my golden nugget that I give you today. Start out with what's going well, which is in my other world, appreciative inquiry is the fancy phrase for it. But get people to talk about what's positive, particularly in this downtime of COVID, Matt, is let's talk about something positive, and then let's segue over and identify some areas that you wish were going a little bit better. And how can we help?
It seems like a fantastic tip to finish our chat with today, because we do focus quite often on tell me where you've got gaps or whatever it may be,
Yep.
but actually
Yep.
why should we? Does it not seem too overtly selling if we go to the problem first?
Yes, I agree.
So
that's why I love
think
that question.
I tell you, I'm going to try that myself. I'll give it a go.
Try it out. Everybody try it out. That's a freebie from Mentor Group today.
That's a freebie from Bill Taylor. So, and we appreciate that. Bill, it's always a pleasure having you on. You'll come back for time number 4, I hope.
I hope so. I'd love to be invited back. And happy Thanksgiving to everybody, either looking ahead to Thanksgiving, or I hope you had a good Thanksgiving, because this is the week we're doing this podcast.
Yeah. And for you, you guys watching and listening, we're always thrilled to have someone with Bill's experience come on, share some insights, share some tips. I hope you found it valuable. Bill, as always, my friend, thank you.
Thank you. Take good care, Matt.
Thank you. I will, absolutely. And everybody else, look after yourself, look after your friends, family. We'll see you soon on another Chat with Matt.